Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about tracking. Last week we spoke about dynamic clicking and before that static clicking. So now we have moved on to the category tracking and today it will be about smooth or precise tracking. So what is smooth or precise tracking? Targets come in different shapes that are usually invincible and move in predictable and smooth patterns. There's all kinds of different smooth tracking scenarios. There are small and big circles or small and big spheres. And they can move either fast or they can move extremely slowly. The goal of smooth tracking is to achieve as high of an accuracy as possible and improve the smoothness of your aim and your mouse control. In smooth tracking, you have a high crosshair uptime, which means you're going for as high possible accuracy and always having your crosshair on the targets. And these are typically 1 minute long scenarios. So why should you try to improve in smooth tracking? You may think, in most games that I play, my targets do not move in a slow and predictable pattern. But tracking is an essential skill in aiming. Improving smoothness in your tracking improves smoothness in aiming in general, not just in smooth tracking, but also in reactive tracking or in clicking and target switching. It will improve your overall scores when you get better at precise tracking. It is definitely the foundation of good aiming. Even in games like tactical FPS like Valorant and CSGO, smooth tracking will help you so much in your mouse control. When people think of tracking, the games that usually come to mind, or at least the competitive games that usually come to mind, are games like Apex and Overwatch. Games with a longer time to kill, and where you have automatic weapons which require you to track your target over a longer amount of time. Improving your skills in smooth or precise tracking will help you get a lot better at games where tracking is important, but as I said before, it is a foundation of all aiming and will improve your aim in both aim trainers and actual games. The optimal settings for tracking are still a 103 FOV in Overwatch. It's the minimum FOV, but also the standard in tracking scenarios. When it comes to sensitivity, most people use a faster sensitivity for tracking. This usually lies between 25 to 40 centimeters per 360. I personally always stick to my own sense, which is 3.5 Overwatch on 800 dpi and 103 FOV. I never change my sensitivity to chase high scores. I just use the settings that I play in game because I'm comfortable with those. You can make your own choice in that and feel free to use whatever sense you wish to use. So let's talk about technique. When I play smooth tracking scenarios, I don't try to predict too much. I follow the bot and always assume the bot will continue moving in the direction it's going until it doesn't. I don't try to preemptively predict that it's suddenly going to make a left or right turn. I just keep my crosshair on the bot, believing it will continue going that way until it doesn't. And then I react to the bot movement smoothly and go the way it's going after it's made its directional change. Do not try to be too tense in your mouse hand. A lot of people will grip their mouse very hard and get cramps in their hands while they're playing smooth scenarios, especially the very thin ones, because it requires a lot of mouse control. And if you're playing a higher sense, this can cause you to squeeze your mouse. Try to have a firm grip on your mouse, but don't tense too much. This is incredibly bad for your wrist and can cause injury, so be careful. And if you have a lot of pain in your hand, take a break, don't continue playing throughout the pain. For me, the start is the most important with a smooth tracking scenario. If the bot instantly moves in an unpredictable pattern and I have a low accuracy, I instantly reset. The first 5 to 10 seconds for me are the most important, and if I have a high accuracy there, I tend to keep that high accuracy until the end of the scenario. So don't be afraid to reset a couple of times if the start is not going the way you want it to. The most important for smooth tracking is having a firm but comfortable grip and using your whole mousepad if you have to, and lifting your mouse if you have to. You may be a faster sense player and not have to lift too much, but I personally use my entire arm to aim the longer movements and the micro corrections when the bot changes directions, I use my wrist. Crosshair uptime is very important. In tracking, it's more common in reactive tracking, but also in smooth tracking. There's two types of aimers. One type of aimer tries to keep aiming at the center of the bot as much as possible. And there's also people who do edge tracking. I personally always keep my crosshair at the center of the bot. If the bot does change directions, then I will smoothly react to it as much as I can. But I'm not a fan of edge tracking and kind of predicting personally, but that is a style that can definitely work. There are a couple of scenarios that are most common for smooth tracking scenarios. The first one is from the benchmarks. In KovaaKs it's called SmoothBot, which is a pill-shaped bot that moves both horizontally and vertically. It's rather fast and small on the advanced difficulty, but it's larger and slower on the easier difficulties. This same scenario is also an aim lab. It's called a little bit different. Another scenario that's really common is Precise Orb. It has all kinds of different names, but it's basically a very tiny dot that moves extremely much vertically and a little bit horizontally as well. It's one of the more difficult scenarios. Another very common smooth tracking scenario is the scenarios like thin aiming long invincible, centering 1, or the thin gauntlet. They are basically scenarios with a very thin sphere that moves relatively slowly, and the idea behind it is obviously getting as much accuracy as possible. Then there's also the smooth sphere or control sphere scenarios, which also move both horizontally and vertically and are a ball shape. And there's vertical tracking scenarios such as vertical long strafes. So which scenarios and which playlist should you be playing? When it comes to scenarios, for KovaaKs you can use the Voltaic benchmark scenarios, both the recent ones and the ones from previous seasons. The same goes for AimLab. You can also use the benchmark scenarios. Use the ones appropriate for your own level. Check if you're a novice, an intermediate, or an advanced player. Besides that, once again, you can check out the spreadsheet and you can compile your own scenarios together from the recommended list. The ones in bold are especially recommended. However, the spreadsheet scenarios can be a little difficult. As for playlists, there is a Voltaic playlist, an issue-specific playlist. You can find these on the Discord for Voltaic as well, under Resources and Issue-specific. This is called a Smoothness and Precision routine. There is one for Easy, which is recommended up to Platinum, and there's an advanced one recommended for Master and above. Besides that, there's also a good tracking playlist by Lapu, which I will also link in the description. And that sums it up for smooth tracking. We have previously already done static and dynamic clicking, and this is the first subcategory in tracking. Next week will be reactive tracking. So if you're interested in this series, please subscribe, leave a like if it was helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments down below, or come to my Twitch channel. Maybe you'll catch me live on twitch.tv/Valkie_, and you're always free to ask your questions there as well. I'll hopefully see you next week on the reactive tracking guide, but for now, thanks for watching.